talking about what makes you successful in life, relationships, and business. It's Jump, Pivot, and Roll with Shannon Stiles and Rachel Murphy.
The motto, "United we stand, divided we fall," has been used numerous times throughout history, even being recorded in biblical times. This motto usually resurfaces when times get hard and our country is divided. The phrase is used to inspire and encourage, and it's a reminder that working together is easier as there's strength in numbers, opposed to doing things alone. It's harder and often failure is inevitable. The core of the message means that if an individual or group insists on working alone, they're destined to fail and will be defeated. Again, this phrase has been used many times throughout history, usually to rally groups together, and it's also found in many books, quotes, and songs. I thought of this phrase recently when I posted a question on Facebook. You see, I live in a small town in Kansas, and our main road to get to this town is currently shut down because they're putting in a roundabout. There's a gated community that we should have access to because the roads are city roads. As a matter of fact, it was ruled that the gates can't be locked, but they can be locked, but if somebody pulls up to them, then they have to open. Well, the gates were locked during this construction period, and I posted a question on Facebook asking if anyone else cared that the gates were now locked. It stirred people up. I had some people that understood where I came from, and some people got very defensive, and some people were downright mean and rude, telling me to shut up. Literally, they said, "Shut up." Basically, what I found out is by posting this question on Facebook was that the reason they locked the doors is because the roads haven't been maintained, and the city was worried that more traffic would make it necessary for them to pay for new roads. Understandable. The solution is to route everyone out into the country to use this other road, or you could go the opposite direction, and it adds about 15 minutes to your drive. After me posting this question and having so many conversations, I really appreciated this phrase. United we stand, divided we fall. You see, had we all stood united, then the roads would probably not be in such bad shape. And when we needed to use them, then it would have been open for us when we needed them. But instead, hateful words are being thrown out. Excuse me, and people are choosing sides. I was personally attacked numerous times, and honestly, I started not caring about how the roads are for them to use. The conversation completely divided our little town. I'm still trying to figure out a way how to unite our small community and how to come together and take care of the town that we all love to call our home. I'm Shannon Stiles.
And I'm Rachel Murphy.
Welcome to this episode of Jump, Pivot, and Roll. Rachel, it also reminded me of our country and our world, actually. And I thought it was a good time to help this saying kind of resurface and hopefully make a difference, at least to a few people, in how they think. Now, you were around when this happened, and you know how it really bothered me that people were getting so defensive and like personally attacking me for my opinion.
Well, I think that's the way now, right? I mean, I put something the other day on my Facebook that was my page. My page. It's my right to put what I want on my page. And it wasn't offensive. It was just an opinion. And I had people that were not my friends, were not anybody that I personally know, come on and attack me and call me names and cuss at me and just really got ugly. And I'm not proud to say that I am a debater. And when now that I am proud of, but when I put something out, I do my research. I don't just go with what the media's putting out or what Facebook's putting out or anything. If I see something, I go back and I go to this article and then I go back from that article because I want to know. I want to know, okay, what's the truth? Because until we figure out the truth, opinions always going to just cause that conflict. And so I am a good debater. I am a very smart, intelligent woman, but I found myself getting riled up and using terms, not swearing terms, but using terms I knew would take my opponents and just make them so mad.
So you lowered to their level and you played their game.
I lowered to a level that is beneath me.
Right.
And told Shannon about it, and she called me out. And, you know, it's really funny because, guys, I knew I was wrong. I knew no matter what my reasons, that there was a way for me to handle it better. But I wanted to get that jab in. I just wanted to, because I'm like, who are you to come to my page and I don't even know you and you attack me and you call me all of these things and who are you? And so I just wanted to get that 1-2 punch in, right? And then after Shannon talked to me about it and reminded me that that's not really the way that I want to handle myself, I removed the post. I tried to end it in a very pleasant way. And then I just frankly said, any more things that you say in a nasty, negative way will be deleted because I don't need to see them and my friends don't need to see them.
Right. And, you know, we do still live in a world that has freedom of speech. We do want to allow others because it's very healthy for us to hear the other side.
Debate's wonderful. I
is.
love debate. It sets me on fire.
For example, my initial post was, does the fact that they locked this gate and locked our community out of it bother anyone else? Well, I found out it does bother other people, right? But I also found out from the homeowners that live within that community that there's a reason behind it. So had I gone in there and just been attacking, you know, which I wasn't very good at listening in the very beginning, I have to admit. But had I not been open-minded at all, then I wouldn't realize there's a reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we live in a society, Rachel, that so often we're so quick to defend and judge that we forget to listen.
We do. And here's the other thing. We don't know how to debate fair anymore. We argue, we fight, we divide. We don't debate. Debate is there so that one side can show another side and so that facts can be brought out. So maybe you both walk away from the situation with a little clearer understanding.
Now, I don't want to get political, but I do think that politics is forming our society to do that because
Absolutely.
If you look at the political elections and the political debates, all it is a smear campaign.
Everything is.
And it didn't used to be that way.
Debate with us. That's what it is anymore. Okay, you're going to call me a Russian loving whatever. I'm going to call you a snowflake. You're going to call me...
I don't know what a snowflake is, but that's okay.
You're going to call me this. I'm going to call you that. You're going to say this is wrong. I'm going to say that is wrong. And the problem and the heartbreak with that is we're no longer divided. Do you remember when 9/11 happened, which was a horrible time?
I do. And you know what? it's funny you say that, because when 9/11 happened, this quote resurfaced.
We were so united.
Yes.
Everywhere, literally everywhere you went, you saw the American flag on lapels, on cars,
Yes.
in yards. We were not divided. It didn't matter what color you were. It didn't matter what sex you were. It didn't matter what age you were. It didn't matter. None of it. Income, none of it mattered. We were Americans and we were fighting for our country. We had been attacked as Americans and we were defending and coming together as Americans. And we seen some of the most beautiful acts of kindness and generosity, and
Total
we were
strangers were giving one another hugs. We're supporting each other. We're getting out there and helping one another with nothing in return. No
The blood
expectation
bank
of anything
lines
in return.
to donate blood
Yes.
were blocks long.
Yes.
Blocks long. Our heroes of our firefighters and our paramedics and our policemen were respected and loved and honored.
Appreciated.
They were heroes because they were running in where other people were running out. And I think we're forgetting about that. And I'm so heartbroken that politics and you being blue and me being red, or somebody being in between, has taken us so far from each other that there is no respect or understanding or empathy.
We have gotten to the point where we are no longer allowed to have an opinion, because if our opinion does not agree with someone else's opinion, then we're right, and the divide is even worse. It puts us that much further from one another. And I'm telling you, there's a solution to this, and I know the solution. And it starts with, we have to start listening to understand one another.
Absolutely.
Not listening to defend, not listening to, what am I going to say next? What am I going to say next? Listening to hear what they have to say, feel, and their emotions, and listen to understand. You don't have to agree, right?
No, there's no reason if something morally goes against you, either side or no side, just morally it doesn't set right with you or whatever. You can still, and this is the biggest problem, you can still have that value, that right, that core, whatever it is, but it doesn't mean you have to hate the other side or the other person.
I believe that one of the major reasons that our society is in such turmoil is because people feel like they're not being heard.
So they scream louder.
Exactly. And when you're not being heard, you're not trying to listen. You're not trying to hear others. You're trying to make your point. I mean, I can't tell you how guilty I have been of this in the past. I think back to my husband and I, and when he was having an affair, and all I wanted to do was, I wanted him to know where I was coming from. I wanted him to hear me. I wanted him to know how hurt I was. I wanted it to be about me. And I couldn't make any change until I stopped and I made it about him first. And I listened to where he stood. I listened to what he felt, how he saw things. And then once he was heard, he was willing to listen and hear me. And I think that's what we need to start doing in society, because when I started on that post, when I started listening to the problems that the people within this community are having, I had compassion for them. And then I understood why they were locking the gates. And, quite honestly, now I'm in a position that if they want to make something, get this changed, I am more than willing to unite with them and help their voices be heard.
Yeah.
But we never would have gotten to that point had I been so adamant that you're going to hear me, I am woman, hear me roar, right? We get so caught up in our rights, and I have the right to have my opinion. We do have the right to have our opinion. We do have a right to a free speech to say whatever we want, whenever we want. But at the same time, we have a responsibility
to listen.
We do.
Exactly. So I was driving in my car, and this song came on, and I wanted to share just some of the lyrics. And I have to tell you guys, when this song came on, I had quite a drive, and so I listened to it like 10 times all the way through. And I was bawling in my car as these words just permeated my heart and my soul, because to me, it just says so much. And it says, I feel the weight of the world on my shoulder. As I'm getting older, y'all, people are getting colder. Most of us only care about making money. Selfishness got us following the wrong direction. Wrong information always shown by the media. Negative images is the main criteria. Infecting the young minds faster than bacteria. Kids want to act like what they see in the cinema. Whatever happened to the values of humanity? What happened to fairness and equality? Instead of spreading love, we're spreading animosity. Lack of understanding leading us away from unity. That's the reason why sometimes I'm feeling under. That's the reason why sometimes I'm feeling down. There's no wonder why sometimes I'm feeling under. Got to keep my faith alive till love is found. Now ask yourself, where is the love?
And with that, you're listening to Jump, Pivot, and Roll. We're going to take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to talk about the solutions more. We're going to talk about what we can do as individuals to turn this around.
The Jump, Pivot, and Roll podcast is brought to you in part by the Shannon Styles Allstate Insurance Agency. Just as you take that next step in life, you need to take that next step in protecting yourself, your car, your home, and your family. Reach out to Shannon at 316-773-9864 or shoot her an email at sstyles@allstate.com. Also by Simplify My Life ICT. Is your life cluttered? Do you need help with organization? Rachel Murphy can help. Check out Rachel's services online at simplifymylifeict.com or reach out to Rachel at simplifymylifeict@gmail.com. To keep up with the Jump, Pivot, and Roll podcast, make sure to follow them on their Facebook page. Just go to facebook.com/Jump, Pivot, and Roll. There you can find content, podcasts of the show, discussions with Rachel and Shannon, and more. Plus, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting sites, from iTunes and Spotify, Google Play to TuneIn, and right on their Podbean site at jumppivotandroll.podbean.com. And for all the exclusive content, make sure to become a VIP member on their Patreon site. Just go to patreon.com/Jump, Pivot, and Roll.
And welcome back to Jump, Pivot, and Roll. I'm Shannon Styles.
And I'm Rachel Murphy.
And today we're talking about united we stand, divided we fall. We live in I don't actually remember a time before where fear dictated us so much.
Everything.
I mean, we're walking around with masks on our face, afraid to talk to people, get close to people. We're worried about riots. It's a time that I have read about in history, but I've never actually lived, except for from a distance, like you mentioned, 9/11.
9/11, yeah. And there was fear, but what I loved about 9/11, and I don't mean that I love the tragedy. That was horrific and heartbreaking, and I sat in front of my TV for 3 straight days. I put the mattress in front of the TV, and I sat there watching things, and finally my husband just got up and shut it off because he's like, this has got to stop, because I was so into the fear owned me in that moment, because I'm like, are they going to come in? Are they going to bomb where my children are sleeping? Are they... what happened then when that TV got shut off and I got outside is I seen people with the flags. I seen people hugging people. I seen people offering food. I seen it all. Like, it's like all of a sudden
You saw humanity at its best.
The blinds opened and I could see what was really going on. With this situation, though, it is fear upon fear upon fear upon fear. And, I have to wonder, what are our kids, our little ones, what are they thinking with everything they're seeing? How is this really affecting them? Because we're losing, what does it take to feel a human connection? It's touch, it's hugs, it's face-to-face contact, it's being able to see your family and go to places you love. And all those things we're being told are not safe right now.
So my niece, actually, I just before we came into the studio, had a conversation with my nephew, and they had to decide by yesterday if they were sending their daughter to school or if she would be doing it online. And the reason that it was such a hard decision is because now you have elementary school kids going to school where research has shown they need a break. They need a recess, right? They can't just sit there that whole time studying and not have a way to release all of their energy.
Their energy, absolutely.
Not only that, they're saying that while they're there at school, they have to wear a mask this whole time. They can't even do cafeteria the way they normally do lunch. They have to sit 6 feet away from other kids. That's a decision, right? That's a decision that you
like
have
prison.
to weigh. You have to weigh things out. And once you choose, you can't change your mind for the whole semester.
Really? I didn't know that.
There's no switching to online. There's no going into the classroom.
Wow.
It's scary right now. You're right. And we're facing things that just we've never really faced before. But the only way we are going to make it through this, and we talked about 9/11. Let's go back to that for a second, because we always say everything happens for you, not to you. What happened out of 9/11 was we gained respect for the police and fire officers, or firemen, right? We gained respect for one another. We became united. We fought for the same things, not against each other.
Our flag was an honored, beautiful symbol.
Every time this saying has resurfaced, United we stand, and it's been shortened to United we stand, and they've left off Divided we fall. But every time we come back to that, we do great things, and we see the beauty in others. So that brings me to my second solution. The first one is listen to hear, right? My second recommendation for a solution is to expect the best out of everyone. So when you're in that debate, that heated debate, instead of looking at your position, instead of looking at why you're so passionate about it, have faith and know that the other person has a story, right? There's something behind their passion. There's something that has driven them to the point that they're willing to fight with other people about this. It would be like, you know what? I've got a great example. It would be like if somebody posted online that we shouldn't have the right to bear arms.
Well, they do post that online.
That drives you insane.
Yeah.
That makes you crazy.
No, it just makes me say,
oh,
it
used to make you crazy.
Yeah. Now I know where I stand. I don't worry about where anyone else stands on it. I know where I stand, and I know what I will do and what I won't do, and it's just
So a lot of times it's okay to agree to disagree. Rachel and I agree to disagree all the time.
We do, because as you can tell, Shannon
Yes.
and I have very strong personalities and opinions. We love and highly respect each other. But that does not mean everything she says is right, nor vice versa for each other's lives.
And you know what? I realize sometimes when I'm talking that maybe I'm not right about this.
But she won't stop.
Not
But
when
you
I'm
know
in
what?
the
I
midst
have
of
to
it.
I have to bring something up, Shannon, because you said, what was the second point? Tell me the second point again.
Expect the best from others.
So COVID and this whole just pandemic and all this scariness is real.
Yes.
I want to point out the beauty in it that I've seen, because I have.
Oh, most definitely. My agency, I was so proud of the way everybody stepped up.
Yes.
You know?
I have seen families who've never grown a garden before getting out and growing gardens.
Yes.
I have seen pictures of families sitting around playing card games or putting together puzzles.
I did too.
I've seen more people saying, you know what, I am turning off the TV. I am done with this. I am not watching the news. More people are picking up books and reading them and educating themselves and growing personally and doing all those things that
Creativity
books
has increased.
take away. You know, more people are making their homes decluttered and
Yes.
beautiful, which I love. Did you know
Remodeling.
46% is the stock that has gone up for places like
Home Depot,
Home Store?
Lowe's.
No, Home Store.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because people are taking time to put pride into their homes, and they're able to do things. So yes, many scary things are happening. People are learning how to make bread from scratch. I mean,
Actually cooking at home. I cook now about 3 times a week.
don't get too scared, guys. The world is not
I
coming to an
know.
end.
I never cooked. I mean, cereal was my meal to go to, right?
So, I mean, there's all these beautiful things that have happened. One for us, we started our podcast.
Exactly.
We finally jumped in and said, this is what we're going to do. We have
During a time when everyone else was retreating, we pushed forward. I'm
Right.
proud of that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So, yes, this is scary times. Yes, scary things are happening. Yes, it's a time to be aware and cautious and think more about others than yourself. But that is not a bad thing unless we
Right.
make it a bad and scary thing.
So you brought up COVID, and we'll run with that. All right. When you're looking at COVID and you've got one person on one side saying, I refuse to wear a mask. It's been proven that, masks don't help this. It's whatever they have to say. Usually 9 times out of 10, the reason they don't want to wear a mask is because they don't want to conform. I mean,
Right.
I'm just going to
Right.
be point blank
Yeah.
on this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then on the other side, you've got the individuals who wear a mask everywhere they go because they believe that if they can stop one person from getting ill, it's worth it. Now,
Right.
both arguments are very good arguments. And if we look at that individual as, who's very adamant about wearing or not wearing a mask, as they through their eyes, right? And we see the reasons why they're feeling that way. It's a lot easier to accept. It's a lot easier to support, even.
But the problem is
brings us together.
we're not being led to do that.
We are divided.
We're being led to be divided.
But we're individuals. I mean, you can't, yes, we're being led, but that's a part of turning off your TV, right? I mean, stop watching that crap and start being true to yourself. And that comes to my third point, okay?
What's your third point, Shannon?
Is we need to become more Christ-like. I'll say my stand when it comes to masks. I hate them. I think it's insane. I think I don't know if it's a conspiracy. I don't know why we're wearing these masks. It has not been proven that they help. In the beginning, I was just fine with it because I thought, this might be something good, just like I was just fine with shutting things down in the beginning to see if we could,
we had to learn. We had to learn
we had to know what we were facing.
With. Yes.
I was fine with that. But once we realized, okay, we're not having spikes in the hospitals where it's going to a point that the hospitals are overwhelmed, why shut our communities down completely? Why shut our economy down, right? So anyway, masks. I'm of the opinion that I don't like wearing a mask. I mean, physically, it's hard for me to wear a mask. However, I do respect the people who want to wear a mask. And I respect and I'm going to say it, their fears, right? And out of respect for them, if it puts their anxiety and lowers their anxiety, I'll put a mask on. I'm all right with that. What I'm not all right with is being told I have to. And I think most of society would be okay like that, right?
I think that's exactly it.
But my third solution is we need to become more Christ-like. Because when we become more Christ-like, we look at life a lot different than when we are me-focused, me-centered, right? When we become more Christ-like, we do make decisions like, even though I'm so adamant about my freedom and my rights, I will respect you if that lowers your anxiety level. And I'll wear a mask. When we become more Christ-like, we just drop our ego.
And I love that you brought that out. And for those who aren't religious and who are more spiritual, I mean, there's another way of looking at that. Being more Christ-like or caring more about your community. Just unity in general. It's all the same thing. It's do unto others as I would have others do unto me. It's putting your feelings somewhat aside to bless somebody else. And I'll tell you, if I go to a client and they want me to wear a mask, even though it's very hard for me because of my asthma, I will respect that for as long as I can.
Right.
But I'm also one of those people who you're not just going to force me to, you're not going to take away one of my rights. Now, in the beginning, when COVID started, I was your biggest prepare for this. I was screaming it from the rooftops before it was even being mentioned in the United States. Anybody can go back to my Facebook and see I was talking about this and trying to warn people about this.
You were crucified at times.
Oh, I was. I was absolutely crucified for believing it.
Conspiracy theorist.
Oh, yes.
You were
everything.
Horrible things were being said about you, and then they started seeing the numbers rise. They started seeing it get closer and closer. We had our first case. Now we have 20 cases. Now the numbers just keep rising, and we still didn't have any knowledge, right?
Right. And that was my warning, because people have said to me, okay, Rachel, you were so much about this. How can you be this? I was about this because we needed facts. We needed time. We needed to know what we were dealing. And what I was saying is not wear a mask. It
Educated
was prepare.
Decisions.
It was go out and put in a garden. Find some things that you can do at home with your kids. Get prepared for them coming home from school. Get prepared for having to cook and not being able to go out to a restaurant every night or 5 times a week or whatever it is. Get prepared for these things, because that makes us responsible.
The grocery stores not to have enough stock, because the individuals that are transporting it might be down sick, and we might have a lack.
Absolutely. And something that people need to understand is each one of your major supermarkets only has 3 days of product for that community in which they are in. 3 days. If they do not get trucks through, that store is bare. It is shelf empty. And so I know this stuff because I learned it from CERT and FEMA and volunteering that I've done, and I've been a prepper forever. But the point is, you still have to do, you learn, you adjust. I guess that's what I'm saying, is that I started out here, but I moved here. Why? Because more facts came in. More reality came in. We seen more of what was going on. And I feel like if we could all step back in a situation where maybe we're opposed to, or maybe we're on the opposite side, and just look at all the facts, do our own research, do our own soul search, and then go off of that instead of the media and all the things they're doing to try to divide us and take us away from each other, and instead come together as a community. There's so much healing we could do to our world and our children.
And we can make our futures and our children's futures and grandchildren's futures so much better. We're in a moment right here and now where we could create our own legacy.
Absolutely.
However, we have to become united in order to do so. Nowhere in history, nowhere can you find a good outcome when everyone has been divided.
Nope. That's where war comes from. Because eventually, it's like, my side's this big. Well, my side's this big. Well, hello, I'm the McCoys, and hello, I'm the, I don't know, is it the Leroys? I don't know who they are.
I have no clue what you're talking about. But
the hillbillies who fought.
I have no clue.
Anyway, some of you know what I'm talking about.
That's right.
But it became a war because you stepped over this line. You stepped on my property. You put your toe here. So now I'm coming after you. We have to stop that.
I know I don't want to take this to a political position, but I do want to make one point in politics. Can you imagine a time where Democrats and Republicans are going for the same outcome? Where Democrats and Republicans, regardless of who's in office, support one another and respect one another? How much further could we get if that was the case? And I'll tell you what, as long as we keep encouraging or allowing the individuals that are representing us to act like kindergartners.
You could think they're that old? I think they're more like 2-year-olds.
Maybe. Yeah, I think you're right. I gave too much credit. But as long as we allow that behavior and we feed into it and start doing it to one another, it's going to continue. Your standards don't raise until you raise the standards.
Right. So here's the challenge that I have for you guys, because we always have to do a challenge, right? I want you to look at somebody who you're absolutely the opposite, polar opposite on something that means something to you. And I want you to reach out and find out why they are so strong in that way. And don't get into a bloody battle.
Okay, so in order to do this, we got to point out, you just have to listen, and you just have to say, so do I understand, and repeat back what they're saying, and just try to understand. Do not try to defend yourself. Do not try to change their opinion.
And it doesn't
just
mean
listen.
You have to agree.
Exactly. You
are just listening to hear and to let them be heard. And
You're listening to let them be heard.
Right. You're listening to hear and for them to be heard. That's what I said.
I know.
She's not listening, guys. So, but this is what I want you to do. See if there's not one little thing that they say in that doesn't make you go, I never thought about it that way. I can understand after the life experience you had why you would see it this way. See if there isn't just one little thing that can bring you two closer together instead of further apart.
And remember, in order to make a step towards progress, united we stand, divided we fall. You have to listen to hear, expect the best out of others, and I'll say my way, become more Christ-like. Rachel's way, let go of your ego and just listen to understand. You know, life doesn't always come with directions. Sometimes you have to jump, pivot, and roll. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe, share it out, or leave us your thoughts. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.